Why am I talking about marching for science? In April of 2017, a large number of scientists and people who support them went into marches in several cities in the United States, in Britain, in Germany, in Japan, Korea. And the reason they went in a march for science is because there was pressure from society and from government funding to reduce the amount of money available for science. And of course, when you reduce the amount of money available for scientific research, for scientists to do research and experimentation, this can very, very badly harm society in the long term. Because we became civilized, we became advanced, we achieved all the incredible and fantastic things that we have achieved because of science. Civilization has become much, much more advanced as a result of scientific research. So that's the basic idea behind the march, and I'd like to show you some of the placards, the messages in those placards, so that you can have an idea about what they were thinking, what the problems were. So the idea is to generate more understanding of what scientists do and how they think and what their objectives are, so that they can minimize this clash between science and society or science and government. So here's a placard that says, it's actually a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it says, "The good thing about science is that it's true, whether you believe in it or not. Once you establish a fact is true, it doesn't matter if you don't believe in it. Science is not religion. It's not dogma. So once you establish the facts stand by themselves. Your belief in it or not should be irrelevant." Here's another one. It says, "Science is real. Facts, not fantasy." Because a lot of people say, "Well, I think it should be that way." Well, yeah, it's okay to express your opinion, but you should base it on fact. You can't just imagine something to be true and force others to think that way too. You have to use facts and data and observation as a basis for your claims or opinions. So that's what this placard is trying to say. Here's another one. "Without science, it's just fiction," which means that you can make up any story you want. If it's not based on scientific research and experimentation and data, it's just a story. It means nothing. Okay, so it might be entertaining and fun, but we can't take it seriously if it's not backed up by evidence. And here's the last one I want to show you, which says, "Evidence is not equal to opinion." Opinion is one thing, evidence is something else. In science, we rely on evidence, not opinion. So it doesn't matter who you are, what your title is, what your position is, how rich you are. Your opinion may be respected, may be listened to, but if it's not backed by evidence, it's meaningless. It's totally discarded. And that's what this message is. Anyway, so I was hoping that I will give you some insight as to why these scientists all over the world went into a march. In science, models help us visualize how nature perhaps works. But if we discover that the data and if the observations and if the facts of nature, if nature tells us that this model is wrong, what do we do with the model? We throw it away. We discard it and we build a different model. So the model and the observations have to agree if we have to accept the model. If the observations don't agree with our model, we throw it away and we build a different model that fits the data and the observations. Unfortunately, a lot of people on Earth today, they want to fit the universe to their model. They have a certain idea of how the world works, and they want to fit or change the universe, change the facts to fit their ideas. Science is exactly the opposite. In science, we actually have to build our models, our ideas, our understanding, our facts, based on observation and data. How does science affect your life? How is your personal life affected by science? Well, look, you know, About 12,000 years ago, we lived in caves. That's how we lived. And we were afraid of everything in nature. We didn't understand how anything worked. So we developed stories and myths about or tried to make up stories about how the universe works, because we didn't have anything else we didn't have any understanding. So for example, in the old Egyptian civilization, during the days of the pharaohs, that they worshipped the god of the sun, his name was Ra. The Greeks had a god for water, and they called him Poseidon. We also, when there is a solar eclipse, which means when the moon comes between the earth and the sun, and so you can see a very, very, very tiny ring of the corona of the sun, but you can't see the sun, it's blocked by the moon, as you can see in this picture. The Viking people, the people from the Scandinavian countries in the old days, used to think that there was a monster that's coming to swallow the sun and eat it up. Of course how else could they explain this? They didn't have any means of really understanding eclipse and the movement of the sun, the movement of the moon, and the size of the moon, and the distances from Earth. They had no way of knowing that, so they made up that story. And these people thought that they brought their best warriors to make noise and scream, thinking that that will scare the monster. Now, normally the eclipse lasts for 2 or 3 minutes. So when the moon moved away and the sun showed up again, they said, see, it worked. So our shouting and screaming scared the monster, and it went away. So that's a fun story, but what else? They made up stories to explain nature. They didn't have anything else. Here's an Irish, this is an Irish legend from the old times. They think that at the end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold. Wouldn't that be nice? And in Africa, they believed in voodoo, which means, if you want to scare someone, or if you want to cause them some harm, or if you want to avoid harm from someone, then you can wear beads and have skulls on a stick. And it's just what else can they think? They didn't know anything else. And here's another one. This is the zodiac, the signs of the zodiac, and even today a lot of people take that seriously. The zodiac, which is associated with astrology, which is not a science. Astronomy is a science, astrology is not. But, it's good entertainment, it's fun, but of course you can't take it seriously. It's total nonsense, but it still prevails until today. Let me just mention one thing that is very important about science. We talked about the impact of science on your life, which means science helped us come up with all these different technologies. So is the purpose of science to achieve technological advancement? Of course, as a result of our knowledge in science, we achieve technological advancement, which is fantastic, makes our lives and civilization much, much more comfortable. But is that the only reason why we do science? No, because we're naturally created curious. We want to know how the world works, what is around us, what things look like. So this natural curiosity that we were born with is what drove us in the first place to discover the universe and how it works, and to understand the natural world. So for example, when Michael Faraday first discovered electricity and magnetism, he was just tinkering and experimenting because he was curious about this amazing phenomenon of electricity and of magnetism. Was he really thinking of the unbelievable things that we have today as a result of electricity and magnetism? Of course not. And so if we suppress the ability of scientists to do research, the pure seeking of understanding of how nature works, then we will do a huge harm to our future generations, because we stop to explore how the real world really works, and we stop to understand nature in more depth and more detail, and as a consequence we suffer. Everything that we invent can be used for good or can be used for bad. I'll give you a very simple example. Take a knife. I can take a knife to cut someone's arm, or I can use a knife in the kitchen for my cooking. So everything may have good applications or bad applications. And I believe that if we are a monstrous society, we can probably use science to do monstrous things. But if we are a humane and understanding and kind society, then I believe that we will be able to do very good things with science, as we have done a huge number of good things using science. Unfortunately, sometimes you use it for bad things, but in general, science has given us more good things than bad things. Something that is amazing about this picture here. There are about 10,000 scientists from all over the world collaborating and cooperating to discover more about nature in this Large Hadron Collider. 10,000 from all over the world. From Korea, Japan, United States, Canada, Germany, France, China, India, so from all over the world. And that brings a point that I would like to impress you with about science. There is no such thing as Indian science or Chinese science or American science or German science. Science is exactly the same anywhere you go in the world. So it actually unites humanity. It unites us because we all speak the same language of science anywhere we live in the world. We could be wearing different clothes, eating different food, speaking different languages, come from totally different cultures, and yet when it comes to science, we're completely united. Speak the same language, think the same way, and we discover the same facts about the natural world, which are common for all of us. And so science is a very, very great uniting factor for humanity. I would like to impress on you again that March for Science is not just the event that took place in April of 2017. To me, March for Science should be a daily event in our minds, in our attitude, in our conversation with people, in the way we deal with society. And it is my hope that you will adopt science in your lives, excuse me, whether you consider science as a career in your life or not. Just be literate about science, understand it, and understand how it affects our lives, and help society use it for good. And I believe that in these episodes I may contribute in my own special or little way to help the March of Science continue.